Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is now the fourth movie in the reboot series of the Planet of the Apes franchise. At first, I had my reservations about adding another movie when it ended so perfectly as a trilogy. We've seen how that turns out in the past. Although, I guess the reboot trilogy never really got to the "You maniacs! You blew it up! Damn you all to hell!" So I suppose this was always coming. Well, does it live up to what came before? I'm happy to report, yes. This movie is freaking awesome. It had some pretty big shoes to fill, and it does so without missing a step. Mike Starling, what's the plan? Okay, fine. Here is the actual review of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And don't worry, this will be a spoiler-free review. Here we go. I sure hope you watched the other three movies before you saw this one, because the very first minute of the very first scene of this movie is spoiling the ending of the last movie. It picks up right where the other one stopped, letting you know that Caesar's dead, Goku! He's dead! It then flashes forward to many generations later, letting you know that every character from the first three movies are dead, Goku! And replaced with an entire new cast and setting. Kind of serving as a soft reboot. If you don't feel like watching the first three movies, it's not the worst thing in the world to start here. So what have the apes been up to for hundreds of years after conquering humanity? That's not the right movie! Okay, the real answer is apes are now the dominant species on the planet, and the virus from the last movie, which took away human intelligence and speech, finished the job. Humans and apes have now essentially switched places. Humans have finally returned to monkey. The new protagonist of the movie is named Noah, and I'll tell you what, I really like this character. He's a strong follow-up to Caesar, but I like that Noah isn't just a copy-pasted version of him. He's likable and capable and very clever, but is still young and has his doubts. Ironically, being so relatable, it makes him the most human of the cast. It's unclear if this new group of apes that Noah belongs to have anything to do with Caesar, but it's clear that Caesar's presence is still felt through the entire film. So much time has passed that Caesar went from being a beloved leader to an almost deified Jesus-like figure. The way people talk about him, saying things like Caesar's teachings, and wearing a symbol from the window of Caesar's original home with James Franco as a necklace. Almost like a crucifix people would wear today, maybe? The point is, I think it's really interesting how time can create these stories and legends. And while there are some that will look at it in a religious way, others will take his words and twist them to fit their own agenda like a cult, which is what happens with the villain of the movie, Proximus. Speaking of, I guess now is as good a time as any to let you know that this movie has a pretty slow build-up. The movie chooses to focus on only a few characters at a time, which honestly, I think is a good thing. Since so much time has passed, there is a great amount of world building that also needs to be done while introducing a new cast. If they threw a bunch of characters at once on top of trying to show what happened to the old world, it would get very confusing very quickly. The villain of the movie, Proximus, doesn't even show up until maybe the 60% mark of the movie, even though he's all over the advertisements. But when he does, man does he steal the show. He has an electrifying personality and screen presence. It's unclear how he rose to such power, but I think I got a pretty good idea of how he did it. His motivations are also pretty standard.
What do all men with power want? More power.
But I think framing it in the context of human evolution is an interesting idea. I also like that it shows how obsessive Proximus is about humans and what came before, and frames it against Noah's elders, saying that they created their laws and rules based on wanting nothing to do with humanity, not even learning about them. I think it's a nice contrast. There are some more characters like Noah's childhood friends, which have a great dynamic and chemistry, but unfortunately don't get too much time to shine, because Noah spends most of his time with Raka, an orangutan that knows the real teachings and meanings behind Caesar's words, and is also my favorite character, and Nova, a human girl they meet that is being hunted by Proximus's crew. Now Nova is the driving force of this movie. On first glance, it looks like Nova serves the same purpose as Nova, the little girl from the last movie. That Nova was a cute little defenseless girl that needed Caesar's protection and winds up teaching him what it means to be human. Kingdom's Nova is not like that at all. And without getting into spoilers, let's just say that there's a lot more to her character, and what's there is pretty dark. She is a fascinating character, and I'm excited to see what she does moving forward in the franchise. Now, I did say that this movie is slow, but it's definitely not boring. I've seen a few other people say that this movie can drag, and I don't agree at all. The action is very exciting and thrilling. I mean, sure, it's not John Wick, but the flow, camera work, lighting, and set pieces all look great, and happen with enough frequency that I never found myself bored at any point. I'd also like to point out how Noah is not a great fighter. Oftentimes, he goes up against opponents that are double his size and strength, and he gets his ass kicked.
Ace! He much better fighter than you. Do it!
Noah has to use his agility and brains to get out of sticky situations, which is a detail that I really liked. There's also a lot of really strong themes throughout this movie too. There's a whole subplot about birds, specifically about raising eagles. Now, I'm sure it's no coincidence that the main character is named Noah and has a special connection to birds. By the end of the movie, there's a boat, a flood, and a bird that returns to Noah again and again. Not to mention all the Jesus Caesar religious dialogue and imagery. It's hard to really describe what I mean without really diving into details, but just know that it's very present throughout the whole movie. There's also the whole Proximus and his obsession with both Caesar, the monkey, not the guy, and Caesar, the guy, as well as his fascination to the Roman Empire. Pretty obvious connection there too. I love finding themes like that in movies, so really good stuff there. I think I've touched on a little bit of everything here, and if I haven't made it obvious by now, I think this movie is insanely good and you should go see it. The next video I'm doing will be a full omnibus review of every reboot Planet of the Apes movie. So if you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe and check it out when that video drops. Remember, apes together strong, and thanks for watching.